From the News Channel 5 Network, this is SportsLine.
Good evening, Nashville. Welcome to SportsLine here on News Channel 5 Plus. Yours truly, John Burton. It's the Wednesday extravaganza. We're here for the next hour talking sports with you. Coming up in the show, we're going to hear from several of the Tennessee Titans today. Practice, an afternoon full-padded practice over at St. Thomas Sports Park. We're going to hear from the new guy, Dennis Kelly, the offensive lineman, traded here from Philadelphia for wide receiver Dorial Green-Beckham. Just a couple of minutes, we're going to be joined by 104.5 The Zones and Titans Radio's Jonathan Hutton. Get his thoughts on the first preseason game. Your thoughts. This is the first chance we've had the chance since the first preseason game Saturday night. A 27-10 win over the San Diego Chargers. Titans, of course, get ready for preseason game number 2. It'll be a 2 o'clock start. Note the start time. Note that kickoff. 2 o'clock this afternoon, Saturday afternoon, I should say, over at Nissan Stadium against the Carolina Panthers. Should be a good test. Of course, Carolina Panthers, winners of the NFC last year, lost in the Super Bowl, but had a great year last year, 15-1. And they'll be looking to take it a step further this year. And so for the Titans, a very good test to see where they are as they get into preseason game number 2. Just a few weeks away from the start of the season. And, of course, joining us on the phone right now, good friend of News Channel 5 Sports from 104.5 The Zone and Titans Radio, where he does the sideline reports during Titans broadcasts. Our good buddy Jonathan Hutton joins us. Hey, Jay Hutt, how are you?
John Burton, good to be back with you. And guess who we get to see on Saturday?
My buddy Cam Newton.
Cam!
Yeah, that's a whole bag of worms right there regarding yours truly. But, yeah, it'll be good to see Cam. It'll be good to see the Carolina Panthers. It'll be good to see a team that, you know, by all accounts is one of the better teams in the National Football League. And even though it's preseason, we might see the starters a little bit longer, so we might get more of a look at how good the Titans could be this year.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, they left last year. Now, granted, front office different. And a lot has changed with the behind the scenes of the Titans. But they left that game last year against Carolina, pointing to that team, saying that this is how we would like to be. Physicality, run game, rely on an athletic quarterback. And when I say physicality, I mean their defense. I think that's a good mirror image of what the Titans are trying to build. Is a team that's built much like the Carolina Panthers. So I think it'll be a good test for them to see, especially up front on their offensive line, to see how they stack up against a front seven that's much better than what they saw against San Diego. And defensively, I think they'll probably play with a chip on their shoulder after the way San Diego ran the football against them in that first quarter.
No question about it. Jonathan Hutton is our guest. Great to have Jay Hutt on back with us. All right, Jonathan, everybody's going crazy about the running game last week, 288 yards against the Chargers. You know, a couple of things that people need to keep in perspective, right? Number one, it's a preseason game. Number two, it's vanilla defense you're going up against. Number three, the Chargers defense doesn't exactly strike fear into the hearts of most football teams. But when you look at the production from DeMarco Murray and from Derrick Henry and even Bishop Sankey, who ripped off a nice touchdown run late in that game, that's got to be promising to see if you're a Titans fan.
I agree. You know, for all of the talk this offseason about being physical and being dominant up front in the offensive line, protecting their quarterback and running the football with a smash-mouth mentality, to come out in the first preseason game and run for 288 yards as a team, and then to have the two primary backs rip off some of the runs they did, you can't fault vanilla defense on that. You know, they certainly came out and put the play calling and then put their mentality where their mouth has been all off season, and they can't get much better start than what we saw. I thought the offensive line did a really nice job in the run game. Murray's touchdown, Mariota pinpointed the blocking protections on the play, got them in the right situation. Harry Douglas and Dorial Green-Beckham set a great block on the outside that got Murray free for that 71-yard touchdown. And then I thought Derrick Henry showed a great ability to jump cut, find the running lane. I thought an example of that, John, was down at the goal line on the play where Fasano was flagged for a personal foul. a formation where they had Stevens, Fasano, and Supernaw all lined up strong to the right. And the Chargers had Henry stopped in the backfield with Phelan, their defensive end, who I thought played well. He shifted laterally, though, Henry did, to the right, and then pushed forward against the smaller Casey Hayward. And I showed his physicality when he gets to that second level against the secondary and the smaller linebackers. I was impressed by Henry, really more so than anyone else in that game, because of the lateral quickness that he's been knocked for. Even during the draft, people thought he was a north and south runner, and to a certain extent he is. But I think he opened the eyes of a lot of people across the league that watched that game.
No question about it, Jonathan. I mean, especially on that touchdown run, you said it right there. He showed lateral quicks. He showed power, obviously, which we knew he had. But patience also. You don't see that from a lot of rookie running backs.
The patience, the vision to get upfield. On the touchdown run, he did a nice job following Philip Supernaw. He cut to the outside, and then Supernaw did a great job of it, driving the defender, which is a safety that came up in the box, driving the defender 6 yards off the line of scrimmage, which put him in the end zone. And all Henry had to do was run off of Supernaw, who I thought had a nice game and played more snaps than anyone on the team. I thought he was a big factor on that touchdown drive. And also the mentality of getting inside the red zone on that drive, penalties that backed them up, and then for them to get back into the end zone after having the two offensive penalties that they did on that possession. I thought that's good to see for an offense that was just really hindered by the penalties throughout the entire season that was 2015. All things considered, albeit a first preseason game, I thought the Titans performed very well.
You mentioned the defense had a little trouble stopping the run, and I know as you said, it is preseason, vanilla versus vanilla. Important to keep in mind these two teams play each other in San Diego later on this year. But, for most Dick LeBeau-based defenses, you shouldn't be able to run on them. Is that a cause for concern as we go into Week 2 against Carolina and a very physical offensive line and a good running game?
Well, I won't go that far yet. I'll give them some more time. But, if there's one thing I'm really not concerned with off of a bad performance, it would be that defensive front. The Titans' defensive line, we can sit there and talk about their depth. I think it's their deepest position. Mm-hmm. I think they're stacked up front right now. I think they've got to be happy with what they have. I thought, maybe some linebacker communication issues, especially on that long touchdown by Melvin Gordon. But also remember, this is a San Diego team that wanted to come in and establish the run. They want to run it more this year with Melvin Gordon than what we saw last year from that run game. And they've got him back healthy going into year number 2. So they wanted to give him the ball early. And then we didn't see them do all that much after that first quarter. Rightfully so, we're judging ones against ones.
Right.
And we should be doing that. But I'll give the Titans' defensive front a little bit more time to sort things out than basing it off of one performance.
Jonathan Hutton, you can hear him every day on 104.5 The Zone, weekdays from noon to 3 on the midday 180, along with Withrow and Koharski, our good buddy PK, El Jefe, and also he does the sidelines for Titans Radio. Good to have Jonathan on with us. All right, obviously the big story involves yesterday's trade. Dorial Green-Beckham going to Philly in exchange for a versatile offensive lineman, Dennis Kelly. I didn't realize how big Kelly was until I saw him at practice today. Obviously, Kelly will add versatility. He can play pretty much 4 out of the 5 offensive line positions, pretty much everything except center. But to me, Jonathan, this seems more about Dorial Green-Beckham and what he wasn't able to get done in terms of impressing John Robinson, in terms of impressing Mike Mularkey and the coaching staff. Where did it go wrong for DGB, or did it just not go wrong, or he just didn't have enough time to prove what he could do?
Well, I would say a little bit of everything on that. I felt like, and I talked about this on the radio, it was a little early to declare him not fit to make it in the league, to trade away the athleticism that DGB brought. he's a top 5 athlete on the team. I don't know if you would agree with that.
I would agree with that 100%.
We're just listing just pure athleticism. Dorial Green-Beckham would be among the top of my list from that roster. That alone can keep you on rosters in this league, and especially high draft picks. But for whatever reason, what's going on behind the scenes, the Titans had made up their mind that he wasn't going to be able to help this team. The fact that they were willing to trade him away told me that he probably wasn't going to make the roster, and I thought he was. I thought he was safe, to be honest with you. I felt like, thinking back on it, clearly DGB thought the same thing, because behind the scenes, it doesn't sound like he impressed them very much. From the opening press conference that Mike Mularkey held, he mentioned Dorial Green-Beckham and said, hey, he needs to be a pro. And I felt like they gave him every opportunity to do that, going back to, 10, 11 days ago at the scrimmage over at Nissan Stadium, where they specifically called him out as someone that does some of the work behind the scenes but could be doing more.
Right.
That's a hint to someone to, hey, maybe you think you're working hard, but you have no idea. And then the phone call that came from Philadelphia over the weekend that said, hey, we'd be interested in Dorial Green-Beckham because, hey, we've got an issue and the depth concerns at the position. And it just so happens that over the weekend, the Titans have some depth issues of their own as their swing offensive lineman they thought could be the Byron Bell of this team, and Josue Matias, he goes down with an injury. He goes to injured reserve. And I think the Titans looked around and thought, we really have to have some depth up front. We need a swing tackle and guard. And they had a piece to the puzzle that Philadelphia wanted, because they, right now, have 2 legitimate receivers on their roster. They're looking for someone that can come in and be a red zone threat. And for whatever reason, they looked around the league and pinpointed Dorial Green-Beckham as someone that they feel like will fit their offense.
Interesting, Jonathan. Yeah, I mean, when you get a new general manager in here, and Mularkey basically was here last year, but now he's in charge. Obviously, things change, perceptions change. What do you think this move does for a guy like Justin Hunter, another second-round pick, wide receiver, a guy they traded up for a few years ago, a guy that, we have yet to see the full range of what he can do? I would have to think if this doesn't light a fire under Justin Hunter, nothing will.
Yeah, I agree. And, he was already running, if you just look at the quote-unquote unofficial depth chart, he was running ahead of Dorial Green-Beckham on that depth chart as it was. Looking back at the depth chart that they handed out to us at the Chargers game, Hunter is listed behind Tajay Sharp and Kendall Wright at one of the positions, and DGB was behind Hunter. So, I think Hunter has to look at that, and he wasn't getting very many reps as it was in practice. He should be getting some more now, and I believe he received some more today, some more work today. He's been one of those practice players that consistency has always been an issue. Mentally, he's one of those players, John, and you watched him. Whenever he has a drop, he can't really seem to get over that hurdle. Yeah. But whenever he heats up, he really lights up practice and lights up the preseason games. We've seen it from Justin Hunter. I don't want to say it's too little too late at this point. He still certainly has an opportunity. But at the same time, I would say if he's going into camp and not motivated by the fact they went out and signed Rashard Matthews this offseason, they went out and picked up a 5th-round wide receiver that pretty much from day one lit up the depth chart right up to the top of the group, right, past him and Dorial Green-Beckham. The motivation was already there before they traded Dorial Green-Beckham. And they traded DGB because DGB had trade value. I'm not sure Justin Hunter would right now. I think that has a big reason for everything and how everything played out yesterday.
And, of course, they go out and get a 35-year-old Andre Johnson right before the start of training camp. So, yeah, I mean, the wide receiver position on this Titans team, I think, is one of the more intriguing positions to see how it shakes out, how many receivers they keep, 5 versus 6, if not more. Also, the third tailback position, I think, is interesting as well, too. Obviously, you got Murray, you got Henry. Do you think Bishop Sankey is starting to make a case for himself that he could be that third tailback?
Could be, and what's telling for Bishop Sankey, what I would be remembering from what Mike Mularkey has been saying, if I'm Bishop Sankey, is the physicality and the tone-setting runs.
Yeah, he looks bigger and stronger this year, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, and he ripped off that 41-yard touchdown Saturday
41.
night.
Yep.
But when asked about it, Mularkey said, that was a nice run. Certainly everyone pays attention to that. But let me take you back to a couple of other runs that he had that were very physical for Bishop. That to me speaks volumes, because they're paying attention to the small things that Bishop Sankey is doing, and that's how he's going to beat out guys like Antonio Andrews, David Cobb. Antonio Andrews lit up a linebacker the other night who was chipping off the edge, and he came up, and I believe flags were on the field soon after he came up and laid a shoulder into this it was a defensive end or a linebacker, and just knocked him down. And that's the type of physicality they're wanting in the pass protection. And the same goes for David Cobb, who didn't play all that much due to a slight hamstring on Saturday. I would expect him to get more carries this week. But Bishop Sankey knew he was going to get some work in the preseason game, because he had not received the reps in practice. Right. Bottom of the depth chart normally gets a lot of work in the second half of a preseason game. He made the most of it. He certainly kept his name in discussion. He couldn't take a week off. He can't take a practice off at this point to make this roster.
Yeah, GM John Robinson has made it clear since day one he wants the most competitive 90-man roster and eventually 53-man roster. I'll get you out of here on this, Jonathan. And again, we're joined by Jonathan Hutton from 104.5 The Zone, the Midday 180, and of course Titans Radio, the Sideline Reports. Is there one or two things that you want to see from this Titans team this Saturday against Carolina?
Well, right out of the gate, I'm going to be watching Dennis Kelly, the new offensive lineman, who had a nice practice today. 18 hours as a Tennessee Titan, came in and received quite a few reps on the field. Mike Mularkey was very pleased with him. I want to see how many reps he can receive in a preseason game after just joining this offense, and see how many positions he's able to play. They're going to start him as Lawan's backup at left tackle, but I would imagine they'll also run him at guard. And I don't consistency overall on the offensive line, and then defensively, I'm curious to see how the younger defensive backs rotate in. I would expect a guy like LaShawn Sims to get some second-team work with that defense. He's been running third team some throughout camp. I think they want to up the talent level with him a little bit on Saturday with Carolina and throw him into the fire, so to speak, and see how he responds. He's one to watch, along with a Kalen Reed, who's another rookie defensive back who's going to receive some reps in the return game. Both of those guys will make this team based on special teams play. But LaShawn Sims, who's been turning some heads with some nice coverage, nice plays in coverage at defensive back and at corner, he's going to have an opportunity Saturday to put on a show. We'll see if they throw his way and how he responds to it.
Jonathan Hutton from 104.5 The Zone. You can follow him on Twitter at Hutton1045. You can listen to him on the Midday 180, Monday through Friday, noon to 3, and catch him on the sidelines during Titans radio broadcast. Jonathan, great to have you on. Thanks for doing this, my man, and we'll see you down the road.
You got all of those bullet points in that I sent you on my bio.
It's on the screen right now. It's up on the screen right now. Your handsome, smiling face and all your particulars right there, so the folks know.
Oh, thank you. I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, take care, Jonathan. All right, thanks to Jonathan Hutton for joining us. We'll take a break, come back with your phone calls. Give me your thoughts on the Titans. What did you like about last week? What do you think of the DGB trade? And what do you want to see this Saturday against the Carolina Panthers? Plus, we'll hear from Dennis Kelly, Marcus Mariota, Mike Mularkey, all the Titans when we come back here on SportsLine. Stay with us.